Greetings and welcome to another Dremel Studios tutorial. So in the poll that I gave out and asked about the various pictures, the 4 pictures, this was the second highest one that everybody wanted, second most requested. So I figured I would do one more of the tutorials for this one. I might even do a third one. We'll just see. So this is the final image. This is the one I called the LeafRaft. It was... Although this is heavily photoshopped as far as myself, the self-portrait, the actual image of the leaf is very much the same as it was originally, and I'll show you that in just a second. So the initial images that I got, I was trying to, for several days, 3 or 4 days, trying to get pictures of the leaf that I had in my head in a river or in water, and for probably 3 or 4 days in a row I was getting home way after dark, so I didn't have time to shoot this. And then this particular day I got home probably 10 minutes, 15 minutes at the most before the sun was going to be behind the trees and my house and my driveway would be in shadows, and I would basically have to start running everywhere trying to figure out where I could find some light. So I very quickly ran in and grabbed my camera, came out to the yard. I grabbed my water hose for my attached to the house, garden hose, and I laid it down at the top of my driveway, which is on a slight grade, so that it would run down the hill. And then I turned the hose on and got enough water build up that it started making this what looked like a stream. The lower I got with my camera angle, obviously the deeper the water looked, and you couldn't tell that it was, barely an inch, maybe an inch and a half off of the ground, just because the amount of water rushing by made it look like it was fairly deep, or it could be fairly deep. So then I just set up the leaf on a rock or two that were out there, propped them up so that it wouldn't move around with the water going past it, and then just kept taking several shots. And I wasn't getting quite what I was hoping for at first, but as you can see, as the progression went on and it got a little bit darker and where I adjusted my settings on my camera, I was getting not only better focus and speed, shutter speed as far as the water goes, but since the sun was going lower and lower almost behind the trees, I was getting all those golden sparkles on the water surface that I wanted. And this was the last, I believe it was either the last or next to last of the shots that I took, and this was the one that I ended up using in the end. And this has had very little done to it except for maybe a little sharpening when it came through the raw converter. So once I got this image, I knew that that's what I was hoping for, that's what I was wanting. And then the only thing left to do was to set up some of the, I grabbed a twig that was nearby that I had set aside specifically for this, and there it is. And I made sure to get the focus on that with the light being on the correct angle that I was going to be using it for kind of a rudder or an oar. And then I had to go and grab the tripod and my remote, and then I set that up, and then I got in front of the camera and set it up on a 2-second timer delay so that I could take some selfies of myself and hopefully get different action poses, different leg poses in case I needed to combine 1 or 2 images. I wasn't really sure at this point. I just wanted to make sure I got enough of the shots that I needed while I had a little bit of light left. And you can see in the background there on my driveway, there's the water running to the camera right. Behind where I am standing is where the hose is at, and the water is running down the hill across the gravel and through the driveway. So I had to move the camera and the tripod and myself up a little bit more because the light is just about to leave my my driveway there, so I had to go up a little bit higher. And then I took several shots, varying poses, arm lengths, arm and pole poses, to try and get the 1 or 2 that I could use in case I needed to combine anything. Then when I brought them into Photoshop, you can see that the leaf image is mostly the same. There are a few adjustments that I've made here and there, and I'll show you in just a second. There we go. See, this is the original one out of the camera, and then this is the one that I had touched up. So I've gone through and I've done a little bit of color burning on the water surface to make it a little bit darker, and especially gone with a linear burn brush along the top edge here of the leaf, because I wanted to make sure that the sun was sort of burning through and making that a little bit brighter. Just a slight adjustment, but I felt it was really important to help show the back side of the leaf was getting hit by the sun in case it was much, a much larger item. One of the details you might notice is that the figure, so when I've edited myself in here, you can see that I have selected just a little bit around the outside so that it blends in a little bit better. But the top part, the light just behind me where the sun was coming through was enough that it really made the contrast very low at the top of my head. So what I've done here is I doubled up and I darkened just the top half using a little bit of color burn with a black brush, so that so I bend it a little bit more with the contrast as far as the background, but still have a little bit of light coming through, or you can see the gold on my beard. And then once I had finished masking all the outside edges, the light that was on the back of the pants and such, like around the shoulders, a little bit on the highlight of the hoodie, like I left all of that as much as possible. And then when I added the other elements in, such as the stick, the shadows underneath the hands, and then the glow in the front, it just helped it seal a little bit better into the image, and especially around the head area. The golden down here around the feet, the golden light that comes through, it just helps it so that it doesn't stick out too much like that. The contrast is so dark against the leaf that it doesn't look real. So having that in there and then finally sealing the image and bringing it the horizon up a little bit, as I explained, it just helped the overall image feel like it was, the darks were the same in the background and the foreground and the character as the rest of it. These are the various stages of the selfie. So you can see where I have taken myself, put myself in there, and then I put a little bit of shadow underneath both boots after I had masked myself out. There is the stick as it's been put in. Not sure what that one does. There we go. There's a little bit of sun rays both in front of my face and torso, and then across the boots on the front. I just wanted a little bit of a sun splash, sort of like it was cutting through. There's a little bit of shadow underneath the stick, just on both sides of the hands to help cement it in the picture. And then at the end, when I was editing, I noticed that I didn't like the backside top right over here. You can see where it's slightly down. It just felt like it was angled down too much, the horizon line was, so I grabbed it and adjusted it up a little bit. And then one of the last things I did was down here in the water, I added a little bit of shadow just to help for where this would kind of be blocking the light from coming through and reflecting off the surface. And then I put just a little bit more light, a few more light rays that are coming through the top part here, just on the top part of the leaf and around the back of the head. And once I had finally finished with all of that, I did a smart sharpening at about 20% for the entire image. Make sure to make a merged copy image of everything all together. And then I think I went through with a color brush at color burn with about 4% with a black, and just went over the entire image, all of the elements combined, just to give it a little bit more contrast as well. So hopefully that gives you a little bit more of an idea of my process and the editing itself. Just the elements that I edited in. All of the light and the shadows are drawn in by hand on my Wacom screen, so I have an actual pen that touches the screen and I can draw in a shadow and erase a little bit of a shadow, it helps me as far as feeling very tangible process, since I do a lot of drawing and have done a lot of drawing throughout my life and early teen years. It's just something that I identify with a little bit more with an ease than with a mouse. A mouse is just a very clunky object to try and do detail work, especially in a time frame. So hopefully that is helpful. Hopefully it shows you a little bit more of what I've done here with the editing, the process. If there's any questions, always feel free to send out a comment or ask if there's a specific part of it that you wanted to know. And as always, keep creating and have fun.